Disclaimer, the views of the guests on the show are not necessarily the views of the host of the Work With Me podcast. Everything you need to discuss from the employee-employer side come to life on the Work With Me podcast. Interact with us at workwithmepodcast.com. Now live on tape from outside New York City and Philadelphia is Larendee and Bob Stei. Now you see, Larendee, it might work if I actually turn the microphone on. So you can see on the board right here, I had that one mic that says Stei, and it was off. Oh, it's going to be one of these crazy shows today. Yes, it is. Hey, the Work With Me podcast. How are ya, everybody? Reach out to us, Bob at ruseadvisors.com, Larendee at ruseadvisors.com. Check out our websites, ruseadvisors.com, and of course, the workwithmepodcast.com. Wow, we have a biggie today. We're going to get into it in a second, but let's thank our last guest because he was fantastic. Anthony Kazazis. Hope I pronounced his name right, Anthony. Great show last week. If you haven't listened to it yet, go to workwithmepodcast.com and pull up the last show. You should actually be catching up on all of them. Today, I landed one today. So, Brian Soscia has been a friend of mine for about 13 years now. We've actually worked together in radio as well. For the last bunch of years, he was the number one rated disc jockey in Wilmington, Delaware. So he took a vacation, and no one heard from him again on the radio. I got the exclusive today. Now, you think I'm ADD, Larendee. Between working the both of us today, it's like watching a ping pong match. You know, I asked Brian how he's doing, and he's given me every vice president since 1820. So, be ready to try to take over the control today of two people that are going to go on and on and on. Do we have him on hold right now? Do we, Nicole? Just ask him how he's doing and put him back on hold. He'll talk for 20 minutes. Now, I'm really excited to have my good friend Brian Soscia with us today to find out what happened and also find out what else is going on with him. And I know his crazy listeners, they call themselves the Sociopaths. They're joining in as well. So I welcome all of you to the broadcast. And go to workwithmepodcast.com. Catch up on the other ones as well. So don't come in one day, listen to Brian, and then leave. Stay with us. We always have exciting things going on. And, of course, behind the scenes, everything's exciting as well. So, we're in for a good one today. And the Work With Me podcast is brought to you by Divine Design with Elisa French. She is helping me out so much right now. When Corona started, everybody started to get a little crazy, paranoid, and we're all wondering what's next in our future. Get your mind back on track. We're all good people. We just need to make sure our mind's working right. Give her a call for a free hour consultation, 509-638-4329, 509-638-4329, and you tell her you heard about it on the workwithmepodcast.com. Now, Brian Soscia was either let go or whatever term you want to use, and he'll get into it while he was on top. You know, there's nothing worse than being let go from a job when you're on fire, when you're number one, when you're doing what they say. And it happened to me about a decade ago. And what's fun about this is there was a lot of paperwork I had to sign with an agreement when I finalized everything with this situation I had. And I'm pretty sure, and I've been going through the paperwork, which I kept, the 10 years are up now where I can talk about it. You know, I'm free. But, you know, I'm always careful. I never talk about the companies I talk about with me. So it's not, you know, I'm not in any legal trouble, but it's good to finally get this off my chest. So our theme today with my situation back a decade ago and with Brian Soscia is, you're number one, now get out of here. About a decade ago, I was in a weird crossroads with my full-time recruiting jobs. I was with a company for about 6 or 7 years, my first recruiting company, and I had planned to be with that company for life, and I don't even know where to get started with that company, but I'm going to need a few people. We're going to have a few callers on that another time to talk about the funny farm. But I was there 6, 7 years. Company went out of business, or as the boss said, we're going on a 1-month furlough. It's been about 12 years, but I'm sure we're coming back soon. So we went out of business. I'm out of work. And it's right after the big, I guess, recession, depression of 2008 or whatever. So it's about 9 months before I find work. I find a job, and it's not the best fit for me. There's a great line from a Smith song. I was looking for a job and then I found the job, and heaven knows I'm miserable now. That was me. That job, of course, will be another story at another time. So I'm at a job I don't like. I hate going to work every day, and I'm really not making any money either. So a colleague of mine who worked with me at the Funny Farm, place I was at for like 6-7 years, has a recruiting job at a major company. And he said, hey, we're hiring. Call this person. I think I can get you in here. I call. We have a great chat. We have an interview face-to-face in downtown Philly where I was working at the time. And, of course, as this always happens to me, I'm going on an interview during my lunch break, and the guy sits next to me sees me, but I didn't care anyway. So I get offered this job a few weeks later, and the money is fantastic. I'm happy. I'm on top of the world. I'm in a new job. I'm going to be more happy what I'm doing, and I'm making some good money. So much money that my wife and I booked a trip, back then we only had one kid, for our daughter to go to Disney World in January. So we're pumped up. Everything's going well. And this is around, I guess, September, October of the year. I take this job beyond serious. I'm always the first one in the office, and with the exception of Friday when I had some production duties at the radio station I was working at in Philly then, where I worked with Brian, I was always the last one in the office. I took this seriously. I was going to make this job work for years. The money was great. Let's face it. It was stability. And everything is really going great. Everybody I work with liked me. They gave me assignments. I got the assignments. The people I directly worked under, like the recruiters, I was a sourcer for them. They loved me because I was getting tough candidates for them. Now, socially at this job, it was kind of weird because they always had events, which was great. Like they took us to the movies once to see a Social Network, one of my favorite movies, and of course Brian called the show The Social Network, so that's interesting. And they always did bar events. If you listen to the second or third podcast, you'll know I don't drink. I haven't been drunk since 1994. It's just something I don't do. Not a big deal. But I'm always sort of getting looked at because I do not attend these drinking events. Now, even if I wanted to go, A, I'm not going to drive drunk. And B, I have a wife and kid at home. I'm not going to sit there and play around and network all day. What's funny is somebody once told me, you should really start going to these bar events. And I'm like, I have a wife and kid, I have things to do, and how's everybody going to get home safely? And he joked to me, we joke about it and call it Club DUI. I'm like, what does that mean? Well, everybody here has pretty much got a DUI from somewhere, so it's a joke. Ha ha ha, hysterical. I did go to one event, though. It was like sort of a happy hour right after work. And I got to meet a lot of the recruiters who I was working for who loved me. Now, the direct bosses I worked for in my office, they acted like, why am I here? What is he doing here? I don't have a drink in my hand. Maybe I'm not saying the right thing. I'm not wearing a cool outfit. They just, whatever reason, didn't like me. But who really cares? It's a job. I'm getting the work done. Everything's going fine. About 3 months later, they call me into a meeting. And I have no idea why I'm getting called into a meeting. So they say to me, and it's like, I don't know, 3 managers I work for. It's been a few months since we hired you. How do you think everything's going? I said, fantastic. So-and-so likes me. We got this person in place. We're doing this. I got a lot of things I'm working on. Great. What do you think? Dead silence in the room. I don't know. We don't know if this is going well. And I said, well, why not? I'm getting everything done you want me to do, and then some. So my manager looks at me and says, well, I'm looking into the CRM. And for those of you who don't know what a CRM is, it's a computerized system you use to it's like a database where you keep track of candidates and jobs or whatever. She goes, well, I don't see your results here, so when I pulled up your charts, it didn't look like you were doing anything. I said, well, that's weird, but I'm working hard, and I can show you, and we can go through the CRM later. And they're like, no, that's cool. And I'm like, am I in any trouble? And they said, no, we're just checking up with you. Why don't we do a follow-up next week? Little nervous, but at the same time, all right, they've told me everything is kosher, great. I went to one of my managers and said, something's going on with the CRM because they don't have my results. And he said to me, well, you're number 1 in the office. You have the highest results. We put up a chart. It's all there. My manager was looking at the wrong chart or misplaced something. Whatever, mistakes happen. So I go to one of the guys. I don't know if he's HR or whatever he did. Whatever, a creep. And I said to him, hey, I just spoke to so-and-so. The reason you weren't getting my numbers was because so-and-so might have had the chart wrong. I'm number one in the office. I got it all fixed. Could I actually spend time after work today and fix it? They go, oh, fantastic. Week goes by. All is well, working hard. And then we had our follow-up meeting. Now, before the follow-up meeting, I see that one same guy, the HR guy, whatever that jerk was doing, and he's singing and whistling and having a good time. So I figured, all is well. We get in the meeting, they close the door, and they say, how's everything going? And I said, great. And meanwhile, I came prepared for this meeting. I had a folder with all of my charts, all of my leads, everything in my hand. If I was going to court, it would have been perfect. I say everything's, this is the Work With Me podcast, workwithmepodcast.com. Gotta say that once in a while to keep us on track. So I think everything's great. You got real quiet. We just don't think this is a good fit. And I said, why? I'm number one. I have the number one numbers in the office. And the manager that messed up the results said, I just don't think this is a good fit. And I looked at her and said, look, and I put out a paper. Here are my results. The other guy looked at me and said, we don't really want to see any of your results. We're going to terminate your employment. And, you get that gut feeling in your heart right then. That gut feeling. All this money's gone. I got to go home and tell my wife what happened. So I'm shocked, and I say, why? I have the highest numbers in the office, and they're like, it's really not about that. It's just not a good fit. So I'm like staring at them in dead silence. And I'm like, can you tell me why this isn't a good fit? And they're like, well, it's nothing personal. We just don't feel like it's a good fit. And I take the folder out and say, let me show you what... No, we don't want to see your numbers. So, what really happened was this manager messed up these numbers. And I guess they got on her case about it. So she shot the blame back at me so I would lose my job. So I'm looking at them, shaking my head. And then I say to them, I left the job to come here. And they said, oh, well, we know. And I started to get angry. I kept my composure for the most part. And I said, so you're giving me no reason why I'm being let go. And I said, well, it's not a good fit. And I said, well, my and they cut me off. Your numbers aren't important. That's the whole job. Your numbers are freaking everything. So I, at that point, say, well, I might have to take legal help on this. And the HR guy, looks at me and laughs, you're going to sue us, right? So I went through the humiliation where they wanted me to sign some paperwork. And I'm like, what am I signing? And I looked at it, and it was paperwork basically saying, I'm being let go, and all parties have parted ways, whatever. And I'm like, I'm not signing this. Like, well, you have to sign it. I'm like, I don't have to do anything. You just let me go for no reason. Now I'm going to sign away my rights? I don't remember really what happened with the paperwork, if I signed it or not. So I said to them, look, I need to go to my desk. I need to take my items. I need to clear a few personal things off the computer. This is a few pictures I had. Can I just do that in privacy so I can have a little bit of dignity? And they're like, no, we're going to have to walk you out. So I walk out. I walk to my desk. Clear everything out, stone silence in my face. People in the office are looking over to see what's going on. And the manager, the one that screwed up and got me fired, says, I'm sorry, Bob. And I don't say a word to her. On the way to the door, I passed my colleague who got me hired. He goes, what's going on? I said to him, I just got fired. He goes, haha, right. And they looked at, and I showed them my bag. Yep, I get to make that wonderful phone call home. And now think about this. I'm working at a job for 6 years. They go belly up. I can't find work for months. So this is 2009 or whatever, 2010. So I have a huge gap in my resume between when that job went belly up and I took that other job, which I didn't like, which I only worked there till October, from like January to October to take this job. So my resume right now is in horrible shape because of all this. I did not take this quietly. And it began to eat me up. So, let me take a drink of water here. I can't drink soda anymore, so I got to enjoy this water. calm myself down. It's the Work With Me podcast with Bob, Stei, Larendee, Brian Soscia, formerly of WSTW. Delaware's coming up soon. So, I make that call to my wife, which, worst call in the world you have to make. If you're a married man, it is humiliating. And, we just booked this trip to Disney World, and I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen to me next. I'm applying for jobs, having no luck, and it's starting to eat me up alive. So, while I'm looking for work, and I'm bored, and I'm angry at the world, I start calling law firms. Because I feel like there's got to be something illegal with this. Every one of them came back to me and said, it is horrible what they did to you. It should not have happened. But Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, is an at-will state, and they can fire you for any reason whatsoever. And that's something that came back and bit me recently, too, which I'll talk about, in a different state. So, nobody wants to take this case legally. I'm on unemployment, or I'm applying for unemployment. I'm wondering if I'm going to get that, if they're going to fight me on that. So then, because I'm such a damn good recruiter, I do the next thing. I start looking up and researching up the ladder at the company, and I finally reach somebody who was in a good point of management, and I explain the whole situation. I get an email back that said, we would like to set up a call with you. So it was an email, but it was a call between one manager I worked for, who I liked, the woman I met in Center City, and one of the corporate managers. And they were very nice to me, and they said, explain everything that happened. And damn did I. I went through my folder, I read emails, I talked about how the numbers got screwed up and it wasn't my fault. Heck, I even talked about Club DUI. What I wanted was pretty much a year's severance to get me back. After we went back and forth, they called me, and this is right around Thanksgiving too. It ruined my holiday. I'm in Baltimore, my wife and my one kid and my parents, and I'm just miserable. So I get back from Thanksgiving, we set up the second call, and they said, well, we don't think it's really justified what you want. However, as good faith, we will pay you off for 1 month. Secretly, I was going to take anything they gave me at that point. But I did put a show on and say, that is not acceptable. And I went on and on about everything. But we settled at 1 month, which they sent me a check for. And then I had to sign a long bit of paperwork that I would never mention the company and what happened by name, which I haven't. And I think I was on a talk for it for 10 years. But that's off too. So I know that's a long story. God, I'm still angry 10 years later talking about it. There was a happy ending, though. That was the last office job I ever had. After that, I worked remotely since then, and I've been happy. So, you can get fired sometimes being on top, being number one, and it doesn't make any sense. And we're going to find out from Brian Soscia what happened. That is coming up in 60 seconds, but now a word from our sponsor. Hi, it's Bob Stei. Look, anxiety and stress overload is very real, as life as we know it has just been turned upside down. Worldwide pandemic has triggered a stress response that has us feeling like we are falling apart. This roller coaster doesn't seem to stop. If you're experiencing panic attacks and stress burnout, causing a rapid decline in your health and ability to cope, and you've tried reading the books, getting therapy, and adjusting your diet, and yet nothing seems to stop the crushing panic and resulting fatigue, Divine Design with Alicia French can help. Through her own health and stress transformation and 6 years of experience as a functional nutrition practitioner focused on neuro-emotional balancing, Alicia has helped hundreds of clients get their health and lives back. Call or text her today for a 60-minute consultation. 509-638-4329, 509-638-4329, and tell her Bob Stei sent you. Well, Larendee, I am so excited about today's interview. I know often on the show we interview people we know, people we like, and we have an exclusive today. I met Brian Soscia back in 2007 when we were both working small market gigs in Pennsylvania and working production gigs in Philadelphia where I was hired. Brian's done a pretty good job going up and down the ladder here in Philadelphia for the last bunch of years. He was the afternoon drive guy at WSTW-FM in Wilmington, Delaware. He, #1 ratings, a lot of revenue, everything's going great. He took a vacation, and then nobody heard from him today. So I said, I need the exclusive. So to the rest of the country and world, this is Brian Soscia, but to all his crazy listeners that are listening, and I welcome, they call themselves the sociopaths, Brian Soscia's on our show today. Hello there, my friend.
Hi, Bob. It's an honor to be on your show here, and I can't wait to meet your wonderful co-host. But I have to talk to you about that intro. We have to talk about the intro, Bob. It was great. I mean, you're very talented. It was an amazing intro, and I appreciate that. However, don't sell us short. We were in major market radio. I was on the air, so were you. We did production as well. That's kind of where we met. But we were both, I was on the air in Philly for 11, 12 years. I was at the company for like 14, and I did nights. I was like the guy that did everything. I did, if you remember, I did mornings when Logan took his finger off in the snowblower. For like 2 months, I was doing mornings. I became the morning man. But no, it was a great intro.
Let's talk about you now. First of all, I want you to explain this ahead of time. How much sleep did you get last night? Because you're shot out of a cannon, which I love. How much sleep did you get?
All right, so I got none. I haven't had sleep. So on what's today? Wednesday. Should I say that we're on a podcast? Well, they know we're taping. Okay. It's a Wednesday, and it's Wednesday. I think it is. So I was supposed to leave for a quick flight to Florida for Tuesday early morning and get home like late night Tuesday, and then all this stuff changed where they called me on Monday and like, hey, do you want to leave tonight? I'm like, all right, cool. So I left that night. Went and did a press conference for Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. We got Paige Van Zandt. We signed her to a multi-million-dollar deal, and it's just incredible to have her with the organization. So we did that. A fight broke out during the press conference. I almost got headbutted. It was insane. It was just insane. But we got a lot of press out and a lot of good stuff, and it's exciting to be working and helping out that company as well. I went to bed like late. I couldn't fall asleep in my hotel room. Then I got on a flight, and then I got off the flight, and now I'm here. I probably got off a flight about 45 minutes ago.
Good. That's what we like our guests wired.
I had half a cup of coffee. That's it.
Now, for those of you outside the Philadelphia area, you are a true Philly boy. Delaware County, born and raised, Temple grad. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing here in Delaware County, Pennsylvania.
I'm very proud of that. Delco, an amazing place to be brought up, amazing people to know. It's got its own charm. I enjoy that. I grew up in Brookhaven, Pennsylvania. I lived in Media, Pennsylvania. Everybody's hometown. That's what they say. It's like the little slogan. I lived there for a while. Now I'm happily in Aston, PA with my amazing, awesome. He actually just went for a nap. That's why we could schedule this interview at this time. And Daddy wanted to take a nap, but he's on with you. Well, Nikki's sleeping. He's 2.5 about. He's awesome. My wife is just amazing. I couldn't be where I am or do what I've done in my life, the cool things without her. She's so supportive. Her name's Gina. She's incredible.
Now, we're going to look over your radio career a little bit because you and I have crossed paths quite a bit. It's quite a similar career as well. You started as an intern at radio station WMMR in Philly, I believe, at the same time I was off air there, correct? I'm not good with years. So people tell me the years I did things. I don't know. I just do them and I move on. We'll talk about that more later. But MMR, yeah, I interned with a guy named Raz. He was incredible. He was afternoon drive there at the time. And I got my first real taste of radio because when I was interning, and I was in love with it, I was at a student-run college radio station. I felt like I belonged. I remember leaving the internship, and I would go to my car thinking, man, I can't come in anymore. It's not my day to come in. And I said, this is where I need to be. I really enjoy this life. I enjoy doing it. I just felt alive, And then radio, typical radio, Raz, he got the old heave-ho because, management changes and stuff. And that was my first real lesson in radio that can happen anytime. And when I spoke to him, he gave me some great advice. He said to me, did you learn something during your internship? And I said, yeah, man, you taught me everything. You taught me how to write bits. You taught me how to do this, that, and the other thing. He said, no, I'm going to ask you again. Did you learn something? I go, what do you tell? Yeah, a lot. He goes, no. I just lost my job. He's like, this is the industry you're getting into. You need to know that. And I appreciate that because it's so true. It's true. And I was really angry. I think I was more angry than he was because it was new to me. He's been through it. And then from there, I was going to get a job there too because I was going to learn to be a producer and board op, and that didn't work out. I believe from there it was the Clear Channel organization and Sunny 104.5, correct?
No, it was Sunny 104.5. When they first came on the air, they played Here Comes the Sun for 2 days straight. That was their stunt. I miss radio stunts. Yeah, I was there. I was my stuff that I learned from Raz and from WMMR and all the people there, not just Raz, Frank Lario. There's so many great people there that just got to sit on their learning tree. They were incredible. But the stuff I learned from them, I was able to apply because Rabbi, who was the music director at MMR, taught me how to board op, which means control the board if you're not knowing radio. Basically, I don't talk. I would just hit buttons. So I wanted a board op job. I got one through Sunny 104.5. It took a lot of work to get there, but I ended up getting a job there. And then 2 weeks in, I don't think they could believe I knew what I knew. Because, sometimes they just hire board ops to kind of just be there. And the girl on the morning show producer was leaving. So, like, you want to go for this job? It's a $2 raise. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to get up early. And Raz is like, what are you doing? It's Philadelphia. You're an idiot. I'm like, you're right, Raz. I'll take the job. So I went and did that with Jen Ryan, who's another incredible talent at B101 right now. I love Jen. Love her so much. And after Sunny 104.5 flipped to Rumba. Hey, I can't say the numbers. I don't know Spanish. I can just roll my tongue. Rumba. I was absorbed. I was one of the only people that got kept. I was so mad. Jen Ryan came down. She goes, they just got rid of me, almost in tears. So I was mad. I stormed down to my boss. I said, I guess I'm next. Well, you owe me some money. Bah, bah, bah. I'm screaming, yelling, and he looks at me very calmly and he goes, Brian, we'd like to keep you on if you'd like to stay on. I was like, it's cool. Get the money to me when you want. I mean, it's fine. It was my first it was a mass bloodletting at the time. They fired a bunch of people. And out of that became Radio 104.5. And they absorbed me at Phillies 106, I think it was. Then it was my 106. Then it was Mix 106. It was a lot.
And at the same time, you got your on-air chops going at, what was it, Frank FM in Bordertown, PA? Let's
see if I can remember this. Hold on. It was 107.5 Frank FM. I went by the name Rob Soscia because, God rest his soul, there was a guy, Brian DeMario, who, another one, I love that guy. He passed away very young. It makes me sad when I think about it. He taught me a lot. Actually, but I went there, and I was Rob Soscia because he was Brian DeMario. He did afternoons, and they didn't want two Brians. And it was 107.5 Frank FM, Reading's new #1 for classic hits and commercial-free workdays from 9 till noon. That was our positioning statement, dude. I mean, it was long. Classic rock, had a lot of fun. It was Boyertown, Reading area. It was a little house. It was an old house on top of like a hill by itself. That's the fun kind of radio, man. I loved it. I had a good time there. And then they got bought out by a religious format, and they came in and told people something like, I forget how they said it, but like, everyone's upset they're losing their jobs. And I'm a very spiritual guy, so I'm not ripping on that, but it was just funny at the time. I'm a young kid trying to it's a sign from God. Everything will be okay. And I'm like, okay. But it was, this is what I get when I get let go or when something happens. I'm blessed enough where I guess it does. I guess I have a positive attitude. It always ends up working out a little better for me. That's why I'm not afraid.
All right. And then you and I met back in 2017. We were both working as board ops producers over at the 106.1, and both of us got some on-air activity, me down this hall at 104.5, you eventually moving up to nights full-time at 106.1, and then you made a move to WSTW. What was going through when you made that move to go to Wilmington?
Man, Bob, I could talk to you for hours about this stuff because I don't really think about I do once in a while, but I don't think that much about what I've done. I kind of just point my eyes forward. But when I do, I get excited. There's so many stories we can tell. That's for another time. But I'll say when I left 106 iHeart, I didn't get fired. I left. I've never been fired in my career. I've always seen the writing on the wall. I get out there ahead of time, or if I think there's a better opportunity, I'm able to do that. And they were great to me. When I left iHeart, it was time for me to go. I think everybody knew that. That's fine. I didn't feel like I was getting what I had. What I was putting out, I felt like could be monetized more for myself and for a company. And while they were very nice to me, and I loved my boss, I loved him, great guy. I didn't feel like I was being used correctly. I was getting very angry about that because other than my family, and at the time I had my mom and dad. I didn't have a kid and a wife. Radio is the most important thing to me, and I felt like I was just not being used correctly. So I said, look, there's an opportunity at WSTW. It actually came to me, the opportunity. I was in a meeting. And there was something that got said, and I'm like, this is just more of the same stuff that's annoying me. And I happened to just check out of the meeting in my head. I think I went on my Facebook, got a message from somebody that heard me covering for Chio, and they were like saying, oh my gosh, you should be a morning guy. What are you doing? So WSTW contacted me to do the morning show. I auditioned, and it was a good thing. I don't know what happened there. They ended up moving the afternoon guy, Joe, to do mornings. I got to wonder if they thought I was coming in from Philly, and they thought I was going to just be there for a year or two and then leave them, which wasn't my thought process at all. So I ended up settling. I said, look, man, if you don't change the money, you do an afternoon show. So I did the afternoon show, and I liked it. I had to get up early. And I really, it was time for me to go. And WSTW was Delmarva Broadcasting owned. They were incredible. They're mom and pop radio. They owned WDEL and WSTW. I loved working there. There were things that were a little off sometimes because, I come from somewhere else, and I had to get used to that. But the family aspect, I'm talking about the listeners too. My family, I call them the sociopaths. it's incredible. The only thing I can liken it to is I was on the air in Philadelphia, which is a major market, huge, as were you. But I didn't feel the sense of community at the stations I worked from Philly. It wasn't bad. I just didn't feel it with the listeners, I mean. And when I was at MMR, you felt that sense of community. You would like see repeat listeners. They'd get to know the shows. When I was at WSTW, I felt that as well. And it was a wonderful thing. I had regular callers. God, I loved my time there. I really did love my I was there for 4 years. I guess 3.5 of them were awesome. Maybe 3. I don't know.
Yeah, as I was going to say, it looked like you took over afternoon drive there, and everything worked out well. You hit it off with the listeners. You got involved with the community. You were number one in a lot of the key demos. And for those of you not in the radio biz, that's all that matters. You get good ratings, the salespeople sell, you make money.
I would like to say thank you. That is true, but I'm very proud of the fact that not only was I doing so well in the ratings, and I was I know I was doing the best in the company, bringing the most revenue from what I understand in the company. So I'm proud of all that, but I'm also proud that I didn't have to go on the air. I mean, I act like a fool in a fun way, but I didn't have to be disparaging, angry, miserable, mean. You know, sometimes that can happen. So I was able to spread positive vibes and joy. That was what it was all about. You know, that was what my show was about. And sometimes, you know, you go for shock value and all. I'm entertained by that, but I didn't have to do that. Not bad shock value. I might like get hit in the face with a pie or something. Nothing like bad.